Sean and Crystal voices for some show called Dragonball something something.
Wow, they got us like right at the tip.
Yeah,
This is very surreal. This is kind of trippy. I like being back a little bit, and I'm a little uncomfortable being.
Yeah, I'm glad we have a microphone, so this guy right here.
We can spin on the entire first row. I would never do that though. Oh, we have laptops. Yeah, what are these?
These are our personal laptops.
Personal laptops.
I think they might just be laptops for other panels, but I mean, you can check it out if you want. They're probably not going to do much.
Yeah, I'll have to switch users.
All right. All right. How are you guys doing? Thank you. Wow, what a great room. Wow, we're so far forward.
We're in front of it. No, I'm going to move this. They probably have.
They have a few things taped down, so I don't know how much can move. It's now the three-dimensional Dragon Ball Z experience.
Yeah, we're like DBZ in the round.
This is Dragon Ball 3D.
If we forget about you guys, just kind of yell or something, okay? Because you're that far over.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Sean Schemmel. I am best known as the voice of Goku and King Kai and Dragon Ball, amongst other video games and shows I've done over the last few years, and Chris does pretty much everything else.
I'm Christopher Sabat, and I am best known.
As the Christopher Sabat.
I'm just best known.
Yeah, he's just best known.
I'm better known.
He's better known than me, for sure.
I do the voice of Vegeta and Piccolo and Yamcha, Dragonball Z, and a couple others. And for a long time, I was the voice director for Dragon Ball Z, and I'm still working on all the video games and things like that. Have you guys all seen Fighters?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are stoked about that.
I'm dying. I cannot wait to play that game.
We really like to come to Switch too.
Did any of you get to play the open beta at all? Like try the closed beta? Yeah, it's hard. It is a hard.
It's a very difficult game.
It's so hard, but it's so good.
We played it at Anime Expo. It was really 15 years in the making, man. Because I've been wanting a game like that since I first got on Dragon Ball.
Yeah, now that they made this one, I don't have many other requests. The only other one I ever had to people back in the day was I thought they should make a Trunks game where you have a sword and you're fighting off the androids like over and over and over again. They just come in waves and you're just like
dismembering them.
Yes, that's what I want.
I think that'd be awesome.
When the Wii came out, I'm like, guys, do that. And they're like, we don't think that's attackable appropriate. Speak for yourself, bro. Anyhow, so we we have all sorts of things to talk about, and we'll just ramble incoherently. So why don't you guys focus us by asking us some decent questions?
If you have any questions, just raise your hand. I'll pop on by with my microphone, and maybe if you're lucky, they'll answer them.
Lucky. Hi.
In the Dragon Ball universe,
Yes.
there's many fighters. In your personal opinions, who do you think would be the ultimate Dragon Ball Z character if the Dragon Balls didn't exist?
Well, that just means everybody dies, so nobody gets pushed back, and the show is called something other than Dragon Ball.
Yeah, be the only
Called
character.
Everybody Dies. So. Z.
Be the only character left. Like, who would that be? Like, who's never been wished back? It's like,
Well, yeah, I guess the question. Another way to frame the question is, who has never been wished back? And then eliminate everyone else, and that's your show.
And they would never been searching for them, so then they would never search for them, and that scenario would never happen.
Oh yeah, because Bulma was trying to find the Dragon Balls in the beginning.
Yeah, I guess the dinosaurs in that era would have all become extinct because little kid Goku would have searched them all out and then eaten them all or something like that. Whatever
That's true.
he was doing. He was eviscerating all the wildlife in the jungle. He had no purpose. So he maybe would have been like this mythological, like Super Saiyan Bigfoot character that
lives in the forest.
because he had no purpose. I don't know what would have happened if I really don't know if they'd never found the original.
I guess that's what this panel's going to be about. I don't know. It's going to be about.
Yamcha would have been a great baseball player. He might.
That's right.
He may not have ever met Bulma, though. I guess if that's what you're saying. If the Dragon Balls didn't exist, I don't know if those two would have ever crossed paths.
That's true. I mean, I don't remember in the manga when Goku meets Bulma. It's kind of on the way to go somewhere, but they're not going to see Bulma, are they? They just bump into her, I think, or something.
Maybe so.
I read the manga a couple years ago.
It'd be really funny if like Goku didn't find the Dragon Balls, but just like a couple of stoners did, and they just we would wish more tacos. Yeah. That sounds cool.
So, do you guys have Whataburger here?
Yeah.
So I tried to convince my friend Ralph. My friend Ralph's an Uber nerd, and I tried to convince him years ago. I said, we need to get jobs at Whataburger from 10 at night to 6 in the morning. This is before YouTube, or this is like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, we need to get jobs there, and we put webcams everywhere and work there for a month, totally stoned, and record all the crazy shit we do, and then get fired, and then release it as a TV show later. That's what I would do if I had the Dragon Balls. I would wish that.
That would be bizarre.
That would be totally bizarre.
I'm sure Whataburger would love that, and they would not sue you at all.
Well, you know, if they're smart, they do like White Castle did, because White Castle got on board with Harold and Kumar.
That's true.
They did. So
But look what's happened to them.
they're still making embers.
In politics.
Oh yeah, Kumar's in politics, and Harold, he's done. He's in Star Trek now, man. Harold's in Star Trek. He's
Politics
Zulu.
in space.
Hi.
Hey,
My question is mainly for Sean, but Chris, I'd love for you.
I'll answer a small portion of it.
let Chris answer all of it.
For both of you. Sean, I know you have a background as a musician.
Yeah, so does Chris actually. We went to the same music school at a different time.
Okay. The Dragon Ball Z Bruce Falconer music is so integral to the Dragon Ball Z experience.
The what is?
The composer of the
Well, I mean, you said some term, boo style. What'd you say?
Integral.
Oh, integral. Sorry, integral. Sorry.
But I've heard you in panels in the past kind of say it really wasn't your favorite. So I was just wanting you to kind of sort of comment about what you would do differently with the music of Dragon Ball and just kind of how you thought the music
Oh, look,
in the show.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just had a thought. No, sorry. I don't ever like trash anybody else's art necessarily because it's a subjective thing. And one thing I've learned from watching you guys grow up over the years is that there's a certain amount of appreciation kids have for something that maybe someone who's gone to music school doesn't, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because it's subjective. So it doesn't matter that I went to music school or not or whatnot. There were a lot of things thematically and musically that, for me, as a musician and a guy playing in the show, that, and also the choice of instrumentation was a little on the Casio keyboard side for me. And I think I got a lot of respect for anybody who does that kind of work. And I went to the same school the composer went to, but I just had an artistic differing opinion. What do I think it should have been? If I were a producer at the time in the late '90s, early 2000s, I would have hired the most cool-ass underground electronic badass musician who's like 20-something and not thinking about 12-tone rows, and I don't know, Daft Punk or somebody. I don't know, something really that's electronic but also edgy. Maybe some guitars, I'm not sure. It depends. I have mixed feelings about the metal guitars in Dragon Ball, because I love me some metal guitar, I do, but when I'm watching the show, and then the music they use in Japan, as we found out during Kai, was plagiarized. And I remember being in those sessions with Chris going, why does this song sound like Bolero? Because he copied it from Bolero, was what we found out, which was a problem for us, because Chris, I know, was upset because, the scripts had been written around.
I really loved the music in Kai.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It was really good, because it was all based on real composers from classical lore.
Actually, not just classical lore. They were direct lifts from Avatar.
Oh yeah, that's
Terminator.
true. Modern composers as well. You're right. And he even didn't change the key signature, and he even changed the tempo. And when you're stealing music, never done it, but no guys who do, you need to at least do that to cover your tracks, or invert the intervals, or do something. You can't just, that's blatant plagiarism.
Well, there's nothing wrong being inspired by.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that was.
As a matter of fact, an interesting story, when George Lucas wanted to, I'm sure you guys know the story, when he went to John Williams and played Hulse the Planets over his cut of Star Wars and said, I want music that sounds like this, but not this. And we have the Star Wars score, which does sound Holstein in its style, I would agree. So we're getting all intellectual here.
If I had any issue with the music in Dragon Ball Z, and I do, it's the same issue that I actually have with just the whole soundscape of Dragon Ball Z. They were up against a wall because the original music for Dragon Ball Z, while very nostalgic, was really weird, and it didn't sound very good at the time, because all we had were the recordings that they gave us, and they all sound like this. And it just just sounded like someone was taking a shower while they were recording it. It wasn't very good. So
Well, and then there was the DX7 synthesizer effects when someone would raise up with energy. Goku would lift up there and it's like, I'm like, what?
Yeah,
And we always joke, he's like, that's like Goku got a new DX7.
at the time, I didn't really like the original score because I thought they could have done something different with it. I think my biggest problem is not necessarily his music specifically, it's just what they were trying to do with the music back then. Because they wanted music wall to wall. They wanted music from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode.
I believe it was largely for licensing reasons, because the more you do that, anytime any part of the show airs, they have to pay a royalty on the music too.
So it was, for whatever reason, stylistically or for
money,
extra money,
I don't know what the truth is.
They wanted music, like if you'll ever go back, when you go back and listen to it, notice the music never stops. It just goes. Whereas if you listen to the original Japanese, it really breathed. But one thing we were doing back then is they were taking a lot of the liberties with the writing, where, say, for instance, Frieza, who in the Japanese would say a very short sentence, and then there'd be a lot of silence, and they just stare at each other, which is very common for Dragon Ball. Funimation took the license to kind of like write over all of that stuff. Like if you compare A, B, Frieza just talks. But if you ever listen to the original, it's like Frieza says one thing and they just sort of stare at each other. But I thought there was something beautiful about the silence in the original as well, which we weren't maintaining at all in any way. So if I had one issue with it, it's just that it didn't. I felt like the music was just too crammed together, and I see why you like it because it's this positive association.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying at the beginning. Yeah. Because I go back and watch old episodes of like Speed Buggy and Scooby-Doo, and I'm like, why did I like that? So like it was awesome when I was a kid. And I'm like, and I still love it. I'm a huge fan, but at the same time, I can hear, like if I was an adult watching it now, I'm like, what is this? I would not have liked it. I don't know.
But I mean, you can't go back to Dragon Ball Z and say that was high art what we were doing back then. It's hard to criticize it too much because we're just all trying to figure it out, all trying to do what we were doing.
I think I would have liked it. Honestly, for me, it was a lot about timbre choice. I think I would have liked the notes more had the real instruments been used, or better sounding synthesizers, or better sounding samplers. Because it's like the opening theme. I wish they had used real guitars and real drums on that. Because that lick is fine. I think it's a good little lick for the intro, outro, and it's a good opening track. I just wish they had. But a lot of times there may have been budgetary concerns I wasn't aware of, where they couldn't get a guitar player, or there's all kinds of stuff that composers deal with that are logistical and money-based that we have to deal with on our end, as producing on the voice acting side. So, money always plays a part of it, and I'm not in that guy's shoes, so I don't want to slam it too hard because, you guys love it too, and it's not bad. It just wouldn't have been what I would have picked, but that's just. I'm not a professional composer. I'm an instrumentalist, so I don't know if I'm qualified to speak that, although I want to play that guy's guitar behind you.
And with all due respect, this isn't all just about music either. There's a lot of acting choices.
Yeah.
Things that I would go back and fix
there's
too.
a lot of acting choices I made that I would change.
We were all just figuring out what we were trying to do back then, because back when we first were working on this show, when you all were watching it originally, like a billion years ago, we were all just sort of trying to figure it out. No one had ever dubbed anything like this in Texas, for that matter.
That's true.
Or anything quite like this at all.
Well, we were the second one. Pokemon was hitting its, starting to get popular. We were like, this is when anime dubbing was starting to become a thing. And we were one of the first shows to really to where it really broke open, and now lots of things are done. A lot of that has to do with the technology that improved in recording, such as Pro Tools and computers. Because recording with tape, especially back in the 70s, man, it would take forever to do a show. So it wasn't really attractive for a lot of studios to do dubs in the 60s and 70s, unless the audience really wanted it. Now you can do a dub at your house, on your iPad. So the technology is
it's a lot different. Plus, back then we were dealing with a lot of issues. We didn't have very good translations. The Japanese were doing so well with Dragon Ball Z in Japan and in so many other countries that getting us the proper materials was sort of an afterthought to them. So we ended up having to borrow a lot of the original production materials from the Mexican dub of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So people who are like, well, what were you thinking when you heard the Japanese version for the first time?
We didn't hear it.
That was well after we recorded it.
Oh yeah.
Like whenever we'd listen to the original version, it was like, Goku.
I speak fake Spanish. And that's how it sounds to me. I'm not trying to be That's racist. I'm not being racist. That's my impersonation of fake Spanish. You know, that's what it sounds like to me anyway. Yeah, but we heard that. I didn't hear Moscow Nozawa till my first video game. You know, I didn't hear her at all. And even now we do it on Super. But again, when you're localizing it, you know, I'm the actor for American English-speaking countries. She's the actor for Japan. I gotta, you know, have my own spin on it. If I were trying to copy Japanese inflections in English, it would be very strange sounding. I've never even tried that. I don't think. What? So, it was something. My name is Goku. I'm trying to see. I mean, the acting is great. I can tell in Japanese when it's good or bad because I've listened to enough of it. So I'm not trying to mock our fellow cast because I think they're amazing and I've met them on numerous occasions and love them. But I'm like, what would a Japanese inflection, and then what would an English inflection sound like in Japanese? I can't wrap my head around that. That's like wrapping your head around when I go to Australia. You know, Danny, our guy down there, he's Australian, but he's also Greek, and he speaks Greek with an Australian accent. That blows my mind. I'm like, how? My ear just goes, what? And he's talking to his parents. I'm like, his parents are from Greece. They speak with a Greek accent. He's speaking Australian. I can't speak Australian with a Greek accent. Like, how would that be? Like, I have the I'm trying to think of Greek foods.
If you ever want to hear kind of like what we're talking about in English, there is a really funny YouTube clip that I found. Like,
are you talking about that pop song?
No, it's called this is the right one. It's like how English sounds to non-English speakers.
Yes.
So it's these people in another country who did the same thing we were just doing with the speaking Spanish. We don't know Spanish. They did the same thing in English, and it is bizarre.
So that's not that same thing, that pop song from Europe where he does a whole pop song, what he thinks sounds like an American pop song, but it's absolute gibberish, and he's singing a song in total gibberish that is how he thinks American pop. There was a whole music video, it's like 10 or 15 years ago. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, well it's not that. It's actually a scene of like this couple and they're in their kitchen and they're arguing about something.
Yes, that's what it sounds like in English,
Yeah. But I love to do fake, like, Japanese pop songs without actually knowing any Japanese. And
then at some point he's like,
we'll all be together.
We're always going to be together. At some point in the end, we'll all be together. I think it's a beautiful thought, but also unrealistic.
She has another question for us.
Hi, I just wanted to know if there were any scenes that you guys ever did where you just left the session and you were just like, man, I really acted that amazingly.
That is rare for me because Chris knows I'm really hard on myself. Every once in a while, I felt that way after I finished Resurrection F, only after the engineer let me go back and fix a line that I had read wrong. And I felt that way after episode 39 of Dragon Ball Super, where Goku does Kaioken times 10 Kamehameha. God mode Kaioken times 10. And then I did a Kamehameha, I think 2 Kamehamehas in that. That moment, Chris feels that way all the time because when you have a voice like Chris's, you always sound badass.
Yeah.
You just don't really, Chris doesn't have bad acting days. He doesn't, you know?
Actually, it's worse because I end up directing myself a lot, and I'm way harder on myself than other people. Half the time in Sean's sessions, I'm going like, Sean, it's good. It's really good.
It's fine. Are you sure?
Are you sure about that? Like, Sean, just trust me. It's fine. It's really, really good. So
Chris ends up directing himself, and Raleigh's not going to argue with you because he trusts you.
No, I'm firing if you ever say
fire because he's your employee.
Yeah.
And Raleigh's watching this video.
I don't know if that's the best way. Get out. Yeah, I think all of us are. We're always our worst critics. You know what I mean? When you're in the booth, it's always hard to tell what you sound like. I don't know. It's even harder for me to think of. I can think of all the times I didn't like what I did. When I walked out of the booth, I'm like, I can't think of anything else. This Piccolo scene's gonna be fine. No one's gonna ever notice like if this is bad or not. But we literally could not figure out anything because the writing came in so bad, and now forever and ever online, you will be able to find that clip where he's like, yes, do this, I feel great, yes. Yeah, that's the worst scene I've ever done. And you can find it and watch it on repeat. And it'll be saying, like, on my grave, it's going to say, I can't do this. No.
That's because they were trying to flap everything with words, and they were making. We would probably do that scene differently now. Did you do it differently for Kai, or was that scene in Kai? Or is that
I think I can't remember. It's been so long. It's been so many years. I know we fixed it because now we can kind of put a couple of words in each flap, and it looks.
Oh yeah, we can kind of That's one of my favorite Piccolo scenes.
It is. Of course, it is.
I have a question for both of you. From base to Super Saiyan, what's your respective character's favorite form?
Oh, my favorite form is always Goku original. I don't get into the Super Saiyan business. I just like the way he's designed, the way he looks, and especially when they do the artwork from when they fuse it with the original story of the Monkey King and the Great Journey West and the original. I really like that a lot. What about you, Chris? What are your favorite?
For me, Majin Vegeta.
Oh yeah.
Majin Vegeta is when the whole series peaks, in my opinion. Like, it's just, that's my favorite section. He and Goku have that epic fight. He somehow, somewhat wins that fight just by popping. He sort of cheats and wins. And then he does something epic and blows himself up. Like, that was such a...
You know, it's funny, that moment is reverse. It is reverse Linus and, Charlie Brown and Lucy. It's reverse. Because it's always Goku's always Lucy and Vegeta's always Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Goku comes in the last second and steals the football, so to speak. But in that one, it was like total reversal.
Yeah, finally.
Once.
So one time Vegeta actually wins. That apparently brought up a lot of questions right in that general area.
Yeah, for some reason. I don't
She
know why.
already has a microphone.
Yes, this is our area of expertise. Thank you very much. No.
I have a question for Vegeta.
Yes!
Yes!
When are you gonna be Goku?
Tomorrow! Or if it's up to Akira Toriyama, never! I really always hope it
Sorry, he's scared.
But Akira Toriyama seems to really like to make sure Vegeta never wins. I don't know why.
There's a guy, I wish he would talk publicly about where he draws his influence. Like, was that Vegeta the bully when he was in high school? Is he playing out something?
Yeah.
But as an artist,
He seems to really like Vegeta, though.
Right.
He's kept him around. He could have killed him off a long time ago, but he didn't. And I love the fact that he's just always one step behind a little bit. It just keeps him going. I think if he was the best, then the show would be over. So
he would just blast himself. Well, I'm done.
yeah, exactly.
I can't beat anyone else. I'm the best in the world.
I'm more powerful than Goku.
I win. I don't know.
He snaps his own neck.
Yeah. Well, there's no one left to beat. He's a true warrior.
Sean, this question's for you.
Yes.
I know you've mentioned in past panels you were excited to finally do a type of villain role.
Yes.
Can you give us a preview of what Black's voice will sound like?
No, here's why. That's been a real tricky situation for me and Chris because when I got the reason I can't is because we're not that part of the series yet, and I haven't created what I want to do for the series because we're going to tweak it from the game. When we got here's basically how I made up the Goku Black voice. Everything thinks I'm drawing on other versions of Goku, and I'm not. Although I can see why you would think that. Basically, Chris goes, I don't know. Japan won't tell us anything. I go, what is it? It's evil Goku. I'm like, well, is it really Goku? I don't know. They won't. I go, gee, ask them. It's like they won't tell us. I'm like, okay, well, what? Goku's high and smooth up here. What's the opposite of that? So I just went low and evil and nasty. And I didn't want to do the posh Britishy thing, which I thought about doing because I didn't know Goku Black Rose was going to do that or Zamasu was going to do that at the time. And I feel like that's a trope that's like, okay, if he's evil, he's got to have a British accent or something. So I thought it was kind of a trope, so I didn't want to do it. Turns out that's what they were going for. However, looking at the scripts, I don't know just to give you a little preview, looking at what's coming up, I don't know that, Chris has pointed out to me that Goku Black Rose is written in this kind of posh way, but Goku Black really isn't. So the idea is that this is an evolution of the character Zamasu inside Goku's body until it pops out and becomes Zamasu. So when I did Goku Black Rose for the video game, I imitated the guy who's playing Zamasu. It's a surprise, we'll tell you about that later when it comes out. But
He's already spoiled that whole area for you. So.
That's true. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it because everybody sees, well, at this point, it's like everybody keeps spoiling it for me because everybody's watching the Japanese and I'm not.
True.
So you took a risk when you came to the panel. So
how many people are only watching the dub? Okay.
Stick. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that wraps this panel. So that's the idea. So it'll be.
You just raise your hand.
It's going to be something, and the way it is for Goku Black Rose will stay the same. The Goku Black will be that way. Then when Zamasu comes out, you'll hear the whole thing together, and you'll see how it all works. But Chris and I, once we approach those episodes, we'll look at the script, and Chris will work with me closely on what we want to do with that. So I would love to give you a sample, but I actually don't have anything yet. It would be a year premature because we won't get to those episodes until next year.
We do love working on the game.
Yes.
We love working on the video games. The one thing that they make very difficult on us is when they go, all right, here's these new characters that you won't be voicing in the show for like 6 months to a year, but we need them on the game. So,
well, the thing you run into as a producer, sometimes they'll throw you a bit part, and you'll throw like a newbie on it or somebody who's not really experienced because it's a bit part, but it ends up being this huge role that sometimes can't be fulfilled by the actor who doesn't have enough experience, or they're not strong enough to carry a show like that, and then so you want to be able to get those. We don't get enough information.
We do our best to try and cast the video games accurately, but if anything, I mean, in my opinion, the show always has to be the true canon of the universe. So, since most of the time the games are either just a repetition of,
or it's
of the series, or it's not really necessarily canon anyway. So, if it comes down to it, if I've cast someone on a game and I feel like when we get to the series it doesn't sound right, or we all agree that it's just not the right thing, Sean may end up doing the same Goku Black voice. I don't know, because we haven't recorded the episode, so we don't want to really. We don't want to commit to that until we actually see it in motion and we actually get it.
And that's just one of the natures of production and dubbing. If this was an original, American show, we wouldn't have this problem. But getting materials, a lot of it has to do with. Here's how bad it is in the industry. Just to give you an idea, even when we're part of the show, and we have been for 18 years. Japan and other companies in Japan they still get worried about non-disclosure agreements as they go to localize. They worry about spoilers being released or things in the show being released. Even though we're signed in, we're leveled in, for clearance, they still don't like to do it. And I understand that. I totally get it. I will. It just makes it difficult for us as fellow actors and producers.
I think sometimes like our bosses and the producers of the games aren't even told.
True. That's true. It may be something coming straight from the creator. Yeah. It's tricky stuff.
All right, you go into finally back to that corner. There's a lot of questions back there.
Yeah, in the corner. Have your vocal cords ever hurt during recording episodes?
No, it's lovely. It's really relaxing. No, it hurts. It hurts like crazy. Of course it does. You should try it one time. Although don't try this or blame me.
I'm concerned about all the screaming I've done, or both of us have done, affecting young. What if we did a PSA? Do you watch Dragonball? Do you like to scream a lot? Don't strain. And then we have those pictograms that are like a picture of the head with the voice hurting, with the sparks coming out of it because it hurts. Like on an airplane. You have the pictograms for don't scream like this. Use your diaphragm. Use lots of air.
Millions of Americans every year are affected by IDGV. I did Goku's voice
syndrome. Side effects can include lack of voice, a raspy voice,
screaming in public places or in public monuments,
blood in the throat, people thinking you're mentally ill,
anger issues, hemorrhoids.
Do not scream as Goku for more than 20 seconds. If you're screaming longer than 20 seconds, try to find an audio engineer to edit your screams together to make them seem longer. Oh, wait.
If your scream lasts longer than 4 hours,
please see a doctor immediately and have your scream drained. This just went totally a different direction. I was not expecting that. But I will admit, most of my screams are that long, but they do, I've tried to time myself. I remember looking at my wife going, I'm screaming, and I go, wow, the minute's really long. And so most of the time, if it's a crazy one that goes like longer than a minute or longer than 45 seconds, maybe even longer than 20, I don't know how long I do it. What I'll do is I'll match pitch, I'll yell, and stop, and then they go, and I go, all right, and then they'll merge it together in Pro Tools. As long as it's a similar pitch, you won't hear that blip, especially with the sound effects and stuff. But the screams are definitely intense and over the top. And Chris is texting. Did you texting me?
No,
I'm texting somebody in the audience.
I was just taking a picture of the sleeping person.
Oh, wait, who's sleeping? Hang on.
I was gonna tweet like having an exhilarating panel.
Oh yeah. She's so excited. Yay!
And her boyfriend or husband, whoever that is like turning bright red right now because he wants me doing it.
There's nothing. It's our soothing voices.
she was listening to me play Xenoverse all last night. 5 in the morning. Sorry. It's a
Anyway, but I am
It's
worried.
anyway.
I am worried about those Scream Like Super Saiyan or Scream Like Goku days all over the world because the rep from Toei, Lisa, wrote me and she's like, "Have you heard about these things?" I go, "No, and I don't want to do. Yes, and I don't want to do them." I mean, I'm like, I'm scared I'm gonna get dragged to one. I'm like, "Okay, you do it, Goku." I'm like, I do this all the time.
I keep trying to convince Sean to do it. I'm like, just do one.
Man, you have no idea how bad I don't want it. If I did one, I would wanna set up a bunch of speakers like this and microphones, and then when they're doing it, just they're surrounded by sound, and I'm hidden, and I'd be like, and it's going, "Whoa, we summoned the spirit of Goku, where is he?" And they're hidden speakers everywhere, and I'm screaming, and then I just pop out with the mic, "Hey guys," something like that.
I think Sean should do it at Times Square, and then they should arrange for all of the, just at that moment, for all of the screens everywhere to have the little electricity and the
Oh yeah, that'd be even better. And if we could get people in like the 10th floor to attach strings to various debris on the ground, and as I'm screaming, they float up. They're pulling up string, pulling up pebbles. You know, all the buildings around in Times Square. Dude, I want to set that up. I get a bunch of permits to do that, though. It's really expensive. I had to call the mayor. Oh man, that would be awesome. I'm not gonna do that though, probably. But we at least thought about it. Yay!
All right, I guess we don't have any more time for questions. No, I just want to say it before she finally got to ask her question, because she's been furiously holding her hand up every 10 seconds.
Okay, it's not a Dragon Ball question, but can you please do the All Might laugh?
Oh. You're welcome. How many of you guys have watched My Hero Academia? Yeah. Those of you who have not, you need to watch it. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. It is incredible. Play a character called All Might, and he's probably one of my, if not my favorite character I've ever played. He's amazing. Although Vegeta, of course, is the best character I've ever played, at least on this panel. But yeah, it's an epic combination of a really good shonen with really amazing animation. I highly recommend it. Talk to anyone to your left or to your right, because they will tell you how awesome it is. So,
I have not seen it. I'm not your left or right. Sorry. I guess I gotta watch it now. You're making me want to watch it.
Oh,
your pitch is great.
It's really good. It's really good. I cried in the second episode, and I don't cry for anything at all. Like, it was pretty painful. Yes, Superman.
Chris, is that actually you doing the voices for the abridged versions on for Team 4-Star?
Yeah, it's definitely me. I do all the voices for the show.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were like, "We don't know how to do this," and they're like, "Chris, can you just do all the voices?" I'm like, "That'd be fine, sure."
And then
No, I have no.
I got a follow up.
Okay, great. I'm glad that we answered that seriously.
What was it like doing the Dragon Ball Evolution Honest trailer, or at least being involved in it?
I wasn't actually, I don't think I was involved in it in any way, to my knowledge.
You had a spot at the very end of it.
I don't remember. It's possible I met the guy. I know the dude who does the Honest Trailer's voice, but I can't honestly remember what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind.
It was probably Team 4-Star.
Hey, I've had a long-standing theory trying to explain why Vegeta gets taller as the series goes on.
Is that why you call it a long-standing theory? Or a tall-standing theory?
And I was just wondering if
You just got taller.
Yeah, I thought about it. I was wondering if you guys had any theories about it.
He would have the theories.
About why he's so short?
Why he gets taller as the series goes on. Because you notice, you commented on this on the animation when you first see Vegeta like a kid, and and then he gets more of a widow's peak or something.
Compare Vegeta to like at the beginning of the series to the end. Like he has like he has anatomy right here that you're not supposed to have. Like right inside his eyes. Like I don't want to say it because there might be children in the room, but like he grows up hair like right here. By the end of the series, and that's why I kind of changed his voice a little bit over time to kind of match that transformation in him. I think he just grew. No one really, I'm not sure they've explained how exactly old he is. You might know more than I would. How old is he exactly?
Well, I think that it depends on which version of it you're looking at. But certainly in most versions that I've seen, they say that he's 8 years older than Goku because of how old he was when Bardock stuff was happening.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, that makes sense. Because
I'm older than him. Not by 8 years.
Sorry to do too, but if Vegeta ever did beat Goku, what do you think it would be like?
pretty depressing at the end of it.
I think Goku would, Goku tends like, he'd be like, wow, you finally beat me, that's great, you want to do it again? I mean, he's like, he would be like totally cool. He doesn't get bummed about it. He was like, I gotta do it, he's never...
I guarantee you, he would finally beat Goku, and then Goku would go, man, that was awesome, and I didn't even have to use my Super Saiyan purple power.
Yeah.
And Vegeta would go, what? Oh, it's purple power. I like purple power.
It's new color. I went to my hairstylist, and if I dye my hair purple, I have more power. At least that's what she said. I don't know. I'll believe anything once.
I had a really big dream, and I ended up waking up, and I was on an alien planet, and it taught me a new power.
Oh, yeah.
But it was awesome. I didn't use it today because I was kind of hungry.
Yeah. So you want to do this again? Maybe you can beat me twice. 2 out of 3. Come on. You want to, Vegeta.
And then if Vegeta would finally just power up until he explodes. I don't know.
No, Vegeta makes the wish. I want to make a wish that when he goes to the dragon to wish that Goku can never be wished back, ever. So then he kills him. He's like, you're not coming back! Wait, but I found these other Dragon Balls in this other planet, this other dimension. I'm back! It's like, that's your sitcom. Goku just keeps coming back. No matter how much Vegeta kills him.
Over and over and over again. I had a funny skit I was actually trying to work on with a friend, and then I realized I probably couldn't do this, and I'd probably get in trouble for even trying to release it. But I thought it'd be really funny if there was a scene, there's a different character completely. It's actually about Piccolo, and how he's become like a babysitter in Dragon Ball Super now. And I thought it'd be really
Piccolo in charge, or no? Is that
exactly. And it's a scene where Piccolo's just babysitting Pan Videl's kid, and all of a sudden he just starts to shake and convulse and stuff like that, and then he starts flopping around the floor, and then Nail and Kami pop back out of him again. And they're like, dude, what is your problem? We fused together with you to make you more powerful, and now you're just a babysitter? Or I guess I could do Kami's voice. We fused with you, Mr. Piccolo.
This is not what I sacrificed my life for when I was fighting Frieza.
And it's like, but now you're a babysitter.
You disgust me, Piccolo.
And so they pop out, they fuse together to form another Namekian, and then fly off together, and then they kill Yamcha on the way. And Yamcha dies, and then Yamcha comes back to life, and then it sort of rewinds, and then he kills Yamcha again, and then it rewinds, and kills Yamcha again, and it pans out to Whis, and he's just chuckling, going like, he's just doing these temporal do-overs because he thinks it's funny to watch Yamcha die.
It never gets old. I gotta get Ian to say that. It'd be hilarious.
All right, so when you were answering that guy's question,
Slim Goodbody. No, wait, Spider-Man. Sorry, that's
a little bit of both. You were saying that you would hire on for if you're redoing the music, it would be some cool indie electronic band or something like that.
Or something, but edgy. It has to be edgy.
So for both of you, what are some bands that are more obscure that you wish were more popular that you like?
Oh, Chris, it's so funny because Chris's knowledge and breadth of music collection is vaster than mine. I tend to be focused on my favorite set of bands, and it's hard for me to like new music. What do you find all kinds of weird.
I see that's a loaded question because I don't want any of the bands that I really like a lot to be able to become really popular because I don't like them anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Let's see, my favorite, some of my all-time favorites, these guys aren't, they're still making music, but they're not super current anymore, but Amon Tobin, Prefuse 73, gosh, I've got a billion of them in my head, but there's so many that I love. I'll tweet some of them out after this panel or something.
You sent me one from that, you sent me one of DJ with the same rhyme, with the same rhyme, with the same rhyme, with the same rhyme.
Oh my God.
DJ Rubbish in the house.
Yeah.
Right in the train in the door. I love that. You sent me that.
Yeah, he's this British rapper who's just the worst. He's actually a terrible rapper. But
I love that rap though.
I like to rhyme the same rhyme with the same rhyme with the same rhyme with the same rhyme.
Coming in full 128 bits per second beyond. It's like that.
Yeah, I like sometimes I like really bad music. There was who would they call it? Chibo Matto was one of my favorites for a really long time. CIBO MATTO, and there's these two Japanese girls that have their drummer is Sean Lennon.
Oh really?
And they mostly sing songs about food, like white pepper ice cream.
Oh really?
Yeah. Anyway.
I have a background in classical music, and
And Sean, I got you something. This bag. Oh,
I love that
hold on,
bag.
bring it back.
I love the bag.
Oh, never mind.
She's no longer interested.
She's probably gonna give it to you outside.
She's gonna go get some insurance right now. I'm with Geico actually, but that's only because I'm lazy and I'm like, it's the most popular commercial. I don't care. I like Flo too. She's great. She's funny. No, it's weird because I like a lot of different music. I like my favorites. I'm a big prog rock guy. I'm a prog rock guy. My brother's more like Chris in the sense that my brother knows a lot of really weird, obscure bands that are usually centered around guitarists such as Adrian Belew or Steve Wilson, I think, from Porcupine Tree. He likes those guys. I'm a big Rush fan, a big Yes fan. I like metal. I like Darkness. I like Bjork. I like the guitarists like Satriani. I like, for those more obscure guys, I like Michael Manring, who's an amazing bassist, probably one of the greatest bassists on earth, and he does some crazy things with a 3-octave fretless bass that has pickups that are panned, and he does all this two-handed crazy shit. It's amazing. Sorry, kids. And the classical music, I love. I'm a hornist, so there's a lot of horn composers I like. Richard Strauss, Paul Dukas, Mozart, of course. I like some obscure guys like Korngold, Mahler, Holst, all the good classical stuff, and some obscure Beethoven sonatas, etc., or whatever. But it depends. If it moves me, and it's emotional, I usually like it. That's why when he sends me stuff, I'm just like, okay, because I'm not going to look this out. It's like, check this out, check this out. My girlfriend listens to a wider variety of music than me also. She and Chris probably.
Actually, we exchange a lot.
They do. I listen to it, and I either make. I don't know. I have a hard time with that. I wish I liked more music because I guess I'm too picky. I'm too finicky, I think.
Well, at the same time, like on the other side of that coin, like I'll sometimes call Sean and go, "Hey, I finally listened to probably one of the most popular rock records of all time, and for the first time, and I really like it."
It was Tusk. It was Fleetwood Mac, and you'd never heard it before, and you were like, "This album's great!" And then I came up with the Chris Sabat Tusk effect, which is an experience you have where you somehow. It happened with my friend with Rice Krispie treats. I was in college, and my friend goes, "I'm going to make some Rice Krispie." He goes, "What's a Rice Krispie treat?" I go, "You've never had a Rice Krispie treat?" This is before they were in stores. This is in college, And then after I made him a batch of Rice Krispie treats, he goes, "I'm making these every day." I'm like, "Yeah." So that's like he did the same experience. It's been out forever. Everybody knows about it. And then he gets to experience it out of context from when it came out. So it's like he was in a time capsule. I call it the Chris Sabat Tusk effect is what I
apologize. My daughter tried to call me during this panel, like she's 6, and so I had to hang up.
Oh, you should have FaceTime with her and just pointed at the audience.
Yeah, I tried not to exploit her too.
Because his kids are adorable. That's why I said that.
Look to your right.
Oh, yes.
Gosh.
Oh, hi. Okay, I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, do you have anything you do to prepare before recording?
Yes.
Prep?
I'm ready. Okay. That's not a professional warm-up. I don't recommend that. All my colleagues are cringing right now, but
he really does do that, though. Yeah. I've heard that a lot.
I'm just checking the range, because if I know, here's the reason I do that, is if it feels good and it's comfortable and strong, and I go up in the falsetto and it's there, that means when I have to scream, it's gonna be there. But if that middle high range is gone, I'm not Goku in that day. I can King Kai all day.
I do that anytime, any place.
But that's not a problem because it's a raspy voice. But or I'll do a multiphonic thing with to try to stretch the vocal cords up where I go. And once it really pops and is distorted, then I know the chords are starting to loosen up and
yes, once the gunk out. When he does that, usually 2 rock doors you never saw before it start to open.
It is now time to voice act.
Yeah, he does that.
I do that for my warm-up.
I just end up, like, in order to get into Vegeta's voice, sometimes I literally just have to go, okay, I'm ready. I literally do have to I just have to scream loudly. When I really am trying to get my voice woken up, I use a technique that I learned at music school when I was an opera major. It's called bubbling, and it's really embarrassing to do. But
are you talking about the
like if you can do it, like exactly
into the
yeah, exactly. Right now, I'm not feeling that good, so I can't do it. So, but if you can do that, that means if you can actually bubble your lips, you're sending enough air through it to actually warm your voice up.
Yes, that's one of the warm-ups. And any other choir warm-up that you may know about would probably be good. But I love this guy. Yeah, let's get this guy a question because I called him Super Saiyan Sleepy because his hair looks like Goku just got out of bed.
Super Saiyan just got out of bed.
Super Saiyan just got out of bed. And I was like, is that intentional? He's like, kind of, sort of. You had a question, right? Or was I just making fun of you for no reason? I'm not making fun of you. I think it's awesome, actually, and that's the way I like to wear my hair most of the time. You can yell it loud if you want. You don't have to have a mic, but she's got to wiggle through here.
My own voice.
That's all right.
My question was,
you sound Super Saiyan Sleepy also, like you also. Were you partying last night? You're like, last night I was having beers and screaming.
A little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't get much sleep.
Oh, man.
My question for both of you was if either of you have one of the standalone movies, one that you have a specific memory attached to or something, one that you are more fond of than the others?
I mean, I think Chris and I would be remiss if we didn't mention Battle of Gods and Resurrection F because not only did we have 17 or 18 years to get good at our characters, it was new animation, new story, but separate from those, the first Dragon Ball movie I think I ever recorded was Lord Slug, so that I've got some memories around that. What about you, Chris?
I actually remember probably one of my favorite ones was It was like I like the Bardock movie, but I also really like the first Broly movie, actually, because I loved Vegeta just turning into a complete wuss, and then he's just like, I can't do it, he's too strong, I'm gonna cry. And I remember that because it was one of the first Dragon Ball movies I ever tried to write, because at that time I was like, I should try writing one of these. And I got about halfway through it and I'm like, all right, Eric Vale, you can finish this up. I don't like doing this. I don't like writing these movies. So I was too close, because when you write for anime or I think anything for that matter, you usually do it on a computer, which is way too close to things like the internet and iTunes. So I can't focus on doing stuff like that. Yes.
Over here.
Have any of you watched One Punch Man?
I have. I love it. It's great.
So, who would you think would win in a fight? Goku or One Punch Man?
I divined from One Punch Man, no pun intended, that possibly One Punch Man is getting his power from some deity-like source from the couple of episodes I saw. I watched the whole series in Japanese. And she's saying, hi, how's it going? No, it's 5 minutes. But to me, all bets are off once Goku and Vegeta become God mode. I mean, to me, it's like maybe before that, maybe. But it also depends on having had to analyze for the last 10 years the Goku versus Superman fight, what the energy is. So it depends on what One Punch Man is vulnerable to, if he's vulnerable, and then would that be chi energy, which some scientist says is plasma energy, which would not affect Superman, etc., etc. But Goku could instant transmit, for example, Superman to a sun with a planet with no yellow sun and destroy him that way if he wanted to. Goku would also want to fight One Punch Man as his strongest, and would also want to fight Superman as his strongest, even if everybody gets killed. No, that's not what you do. That's true. But yeah. So I would say that it would either be a tie or Goku could win, because there's a god element. If there's a deity-like element behind One Punch Man's power, which was to me implied in the series. For those of you who are One Punch Man experts, maybe there's some actual facts around that, but I wouldn't know for sure because I haven't read the manga. So that was my answer. Ding!
By the way, I don't really add it to my credits a lot, but I actually played the first villain in One Punch Man. His name was Vaccine Man, and he looks just like Piccolo, but he's the voice of. You remember that guy who's sort of a purple Piccolo or something? Yeah. So you only have to watch 10 minutes of One Punch Man, and you can see me, and then you never have to watch anymore. And actually, as much as I've seen of One Punch Man, that's all you really do need to see of it, because it's basically the same sort of thing.
That's pretty much, just in different ways. That's why I wish they'd do more. I want another series of it.
Yes.
So this is for both of you. What were your favorite scenes through all of Dragon Ball Z and the surrounding things to ever record? Just fun-wise, the funnest ones to do?
For me, it's always about storyline and comedy and Goku Kenkai comedy, or anytime there's, anytime we have like Kamikolo when he mixes Piccolo and Kami, or at the end of Resurrection F where Goku got to do an impression of Vegeta saying my Bulma, which was me actually. Chris let me do that. I was so glad he let me do that because I really wanted. I was like, well, Goku could do an impression of him. He might be good at voice acting. But it's not a very good impression. But anyway, anytime I like comedy a lot, and that's why I'm liking Dragon Ball Super so much, because there's so many moments for comedy, and sometimes we embellish, which I really enjoy.
I love my tractor part.
Yes, oh yeah, my tractor, I forgot my tractor. You've seen the English version of Super where Goku has to take his tractor with him. I don't know why. Why does he even carry the tractor out to begin with?
I forgot it, I don't know.
But he brings it to the crowd to talk to Mr. Satan to make a plot to fool Chi-Chi, and then does the fake punch, and then has to take his tractor with him.
No idea.
Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. I wonder if they do a Goku flying tractor action figure where Goku's holding the tractor, and it comes with a working tractor.
They should.
I would love that. They do some pretty obscure stuff though. Did you see the Dragon Ball thing? It's like Goku or Vegeta or something, and it's like, oh yeah, the Yamcha Pie thing. If they can do the Yamcha Pie thing, they can do Goku with a tractor.
That's right. Dead Yamcha action figure is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's on an apple pie, I think, right? Does it come with an apple pie?
No, you have to buy apple pie sold separately.
They should say that in the commercial. Dead Yamcha.
Apple pie sold separately.
Dead Yamcha. He's dead. I'm dead.
You know, battery's not included or needed.
Is that gonna wrap us? Are we done?
We have one.
One? Okay.
Question over here.
Oh, wait, oh yeah, that thing is not directional. It always comes from there no matter how you yell.
Oh man, it's from Guitar Guy back here.
That's right, Guitar Guy!
Sorry, I almost hit your head.
No, he almost whacked you over the headstock there. That'd be good.
Okay. I just want to say that like I wasn't much into it before Super, and I just want to say like I'm really enjoying Super so far, and you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
Really enjoying it. Looking forward to more of the episodes you guys are doing. I have a question for Chris. Like, it's about the Death Battle episode with Smokey the Bear versus McGruff the Crime Dog.
Okay.
I just want to know the story behind it, like how the guys from Screw Attack approached it with it, like any stories or anything.
Screw Attack used to be based in Dallas until they moved their offices to Austin, so they do a lot of casting in Dallas. I had worked with Screw Attack once on another one of their death battles. It was the Solid Snake versus Sam Fisher battle, and I got to finally do the voice of Solid Snake I always wanted to do, which was just a bad impression of David Hayter's Solid Snake. You know, gotta find a better lead. But they approached me. They didn't even audition me for it. They're like, we're doing another death battle between Smokey Bear and McGruff the Crime Dog. I'm like, sold, you don't have to say anything more. All I want is to win every death battle that I'm in. That's my only condition. So, I think it just popped up on YouTube recently, but it's Smokey Bear versus McGruff. And it's really fun.
I'm fast. I didn't know you did this. I thought he was saying that you did the original voice of...
You should talk to them, because they're always looking for people to do impressions of other people.
Oh, I love doing impressions. I would love to do... I should call them up and say, hey, I want to do some kind of impression.
Sean will be on one soon. I
hope, yeah, we'll see. They'll see the video and call me, hopefully. That'd be great.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time that we have left.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You guys are great, man.